Welcome back to State of Affairs. As I said before, many times during the show, we're taping on the 20th of March, trying to look at bigger picture issues. There are no bigger picture other issues other than being safe. But again, there are enduring issues that still have to be dealt with, and one of them has to do with the whole question of prisoner reentry into society and also what happens in our prisons today. We're joined by someone who's been with us many times talking about this issue before, Jim McGreevey, former governor of the great state of New Jersey and the chairman of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation. Jim, good to talk to you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for joining us remotely. Governor, let me ask you this. The most significant impact of the coronavirus on prisoners attempting to re-enter society in the most productive, meaningful way at this time?
It's tough, Steve. I mean, there are a number of circumstances. One, for many of our guys that are coming out of state prison or county jails, many of them are just sick. They have the flu, unrelated to the coronavirus. And so that if they go, for example, to a shelter and a thermometer is put to their head and they're over 100.4, they're turned away. And so we have 63 guys, like literally right now, tonight, that don't have any shelter. And we're working cooperatively with the Murphy administration, and I'd like to recognize Carol Johnson, the great commissioner of human services. But the problem is where do these guys go? And so we're looking to churches who are willing to take these guys in, but obviously we have to have the state waive the regulatory framework so that a church can place these guys in their basement, even with a temperature. I mean, they're symptomatic, but they might not necessarily have the coronavirus.
You know, it's interesting. Jim McGreevey, who has been involved in prisoner reentry work for many, many years, there's a different issue beyond that. There's an additional issue with the economy, with the economic strife, with the pain, the suffering, so many businesses, so many people who have lost their jobs. What does that mean for ex-offenders trying to reenter society successfully and find gainful employment?
Steve, I mean, we have all of our 8 sites open. We're working, but these guys are last into the economic framework and first out. So, I mean, if you're looking at construction, you're looking at logistics, transportation, the hospitality industry, these guys are the first guys to go, recognizing that they have felony convictions and they're new to the job market. So for many of our guys, they're back out on the street. There's an acute anxiety or depression, and they're also grappling with their addiction history. And now many of them don't have housing. So we're just trying to hold on to them so that they don't, frankly, let it go. And so that's why it's important access to Medicaid. I mean, we're having difficulty right now getting people motor vehicle commission identification. If they don't have that ID, it's difficult to get Medicaid. If you don't have Medicaid, it's tough to see a doctor. It's tough to get a prescription filled. And housing. We've got great faith-based partners with the churches, with the National Action Network, with the mayors, with the counties. So that's helpful. But at the end of the day, it's shelter, it's food, and it's medication.
Jim McGreevey, let me ask you this. By the way, if you're just tuning in now at the end of this program, this is Steve Adubato. We're at State of Affairs remotely at East Main Media Studios in Little Falls, New Jersey. This is former Governor Jim McGreevey, who heads up an important organization called the New Jersey Reentry Corporation. Jim, can I ask you to take a step back? Remember the time when you were governor?
Oh.
You don't have to make that sound. But here's the thing. There are certain problems and issues that we face in our lives. They're on us, our mistakes, all of us. When something like this happens and you're the chief executive, what do you think Governor Murphy is thinking and feeling on a daily basis?
I mean, I think, and he's doing it, I think you've just got to lean into it. You're going to do some things very well. There's going to be some areas where you're not going to do it as well. You bring in your team. You try to talk to as many people. I think it's about action. It's about understanding at the end of the day that you have to make people's lives better, that you have to be willing to say what people don't want to hear for the sake of the well-being of the state. And you've got to break some glasses. And you've got to break
what
some eggshells. Well, then, you got to break rules, right? So, bureaucracies, government loves rules. But at the end of the day, whether it was in Superstorm Sandy or whether it's in this crisis, you've got to take some of the regs and put them up on the shelf because you realize that there are people that are suffering, that are in pain and that need. And government doesn't do everything. You've got to really work with the faith-based community. You've got to work with nonprofits. You've got to work with counties. I mean, Steve, we have people that are contributing foodstuffs, people that are trying to work with our clients that are willing. I mean, people that in church communities that are willing to take people even though they're symptomatic and help and care for them. So there are a lot of good people that want to do the right thing. And I think at this time, the governor is just trying to get government out of the way where appropriate, but working where necessary.
One more quickie on this. Getting things done is one thing, and that's hard enough on every level of government, particularly in this crisis. And again, we're taping on the 20th. The issues will remain, and some issues will be even more complex later on. But that being said, how much of it, in your view, for a chief executive, when you were governor, or imagining for Chris Christie or Phil Murphy, is being the person who gives citizens, the 8-9 million people in New Jersey, reason to have faith in incredibly difficult times, delivering incredibly terrible news? How the heck are you pulling that one off?
Yeah, and I think, Steve, the governor's doing it. I mean, he's out there every single day, whether it's the Commissioner of Human Services, the Commissioner of Health. I think part of it is just being visible. I think if you look at gubernatorial styles, I mean, Governor Murphy has a different style than Governor Christie.
Right.
Maybe, thank God.
Everybody's got their own style, Governor.
Yeah, like Chris would say, get the blank off the beach.
That's right.
I mean, everybody has their own style, but I think what people look for is somebody that's open, that's accessible, that's on the front lines every day, bringing the full weight of government to bear to solve pragmatic problems. And that's what I mean, thankfully, Carol Johnson, we've got general assistance. Our guys can get welfare. Our guys can get food stamp. Our guys can get emergency assistance because of the decisions that are made. I mean, that's huge in our world. So I think it's being visible, and because when you're visible, you also hear what are the practical considerations that people need. And not to be selfish, but for our guys, it's shelter, it's medicine. We'll get the food stuff, but we have to get the shelter piece, because if I come out of prison and I have a flu and I can't get into a shelter, then I'm going to be at the Burger King. I'm going to look at the train station, and that's not healthy in terms of spreading the virus, but particularly for the health and welfare of the guy or gal getting out of prison.
Jim McGreevey, former governor, the chairman of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation. Jim, stay safe, be well, and continue doing the work you're doing. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Stephen. Godspeed.
Same to you. This is Steve Adubato. This is State of Affairs. We'll continue doing what we do every week as long as we have an opportunity to do it, and you're there on the other end. We'll see you next week.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Holy Name Medical Center, the Turrell Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Board of Public Utilities Clean Energy Program, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Northward Center, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, NJM Insurance Group, IBEW Local 102, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Monthly and by New Jersey Globe.